So far, the networks that we have come across, both in the wired and wireless domain, are based on the fact that the ownership of these networks is with the organization, and there is a lot of serviceability for an incoming number of users which are spaced over time. However, at times there are certain requirements which are meant for personal use, and the ownership of the network components should stay with the users. That is what is the basis for wireless personal area networks. These networks are characterized by the fact that mostly these network components or individual nodes of these networks are owned by individual users, and when these users come across each other, they form networks. The individual jurisdiction of each user is called personal operating space, and the user is allowed to manage its own devices within its personal operating space. In this module, we shall have a quick introduction of what wireless PANs are. We'd look at the comparison with conventional technologies, particularly Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and specifically, we'll do a comparison of ZigBee as WPAN technology versus Bluetooth. So wireless personal area networks are distinguished on the basis of the fact that they are based on low rate and low power. So when the data rate is low and the transmission power is also small, so we can bank on the fact that the devices would not be very expensive. So these WPANs are kind of wireless sensor networks where the sensing technology is based on low-cost electronic devices. The application areas of wireless personal area networks are huge. For instance, in the area of industrial control and monitoring, where within a factory plant, in a controller area network, some supply chain or inventory has to be managed. Similarly, in environment and health monitoring, such as to detect smoke, fire within a building, and to determine the current status of the vital signs of a certain patient in the hospital environment. In the area of home automation and control, such as using different home appliances for the infotainment and including the toys of kids as well. Similarly, in order to provide trespass control, theft control, burglar alarm, and asset and inventory management. And of course, at a mass scale, wireless PANs can also be used to provide combat against emergency situations, and when disaster does happen, these networks allow the corrective measures and the disaster relief activities to take place more smoothly. If we compare wireless personal area networks, which are low rate and low power, we can compare them to, first, the Wi-Fi 802.11. 802.11 is essentially, by default, an infrastructure mode network in which we have an access point, and the nodes or the wireless computers which connect to the access point form a basic service set. So in wireless Wi-Fi technology, we need more power and we need a fixed behavior of the wireless nodes limited to the proximity of the access point. Since Wi-Fi uses power and it uses complex data structures which are more compliant to the IP technology, it seems to be rather an overkill. It's more than what is actually required. If we compare wireless PANs to Bluetooth, we'll understand that Bluetooth, as we have come across, is mainly meant for high data rate applications, primarily in multimedia. audio-visual, I mean. And these networks used in Bluetooth are restricted to smaller areas. You might have seen that Bluetooth technologies usually are based on the coverage of the order of few meters. And since high data rate is required, so Bluetooth automatically requires high power consumption. An interesting comparison can be drawn directly between 802.15.4, which is WPAN protocol, and in the market, it is commercially offered with the name of Zigbee device. So if we compare Zigbee versus Bluetooth, we can say that Bluetooth technology is meant for ad hoc networks in which we need large packets over smaller networks. Larger packets mean applications such as file transfer. On the contrary, Zigbee means smaller packets over larger networks because unlike Bluetooth, which is mostly a master-slave single-hop configuration, wireless spans allow multi-hop configuration. And these devices are not meant to be mobile and are mostly static. And these devices, the individual PAN devices, are infrequently used. So there is sporadic communication. So these group of areas that we see here are characterized by low data rate, low power, versus these high data rate applications. On a technical note, if we compare Bluetooth and Zigbee, we understand that a direct comparison is not possible because both of these technologies have different application areas, but certain technological features can be compared. For instance, if we look at Zigbee, Zigbee is based on direct sequence spread spectrum, whereas Bluetooth is based on frequency hopping. The protocol stack of Bluetooth is heavier than as compared to Zigbee because these devices are meant to operate on low cost. Similarly, the batteries in Bluetooth are rechargeable mainly through computers, whereas in WPANs, these sensor network nodes are deployed in field and into the environment and are not expected to be charged. You can also appreciate that against a piconet, in Zigbee, a very large number of nodes can form a network. The data rate is profoundly larger in Bluetooth as compared to Zigbee, and the distance is also much more in Zigbee, mainly because of its multi-hop behavior.